my nose itches. Okay. We're right back from that cliffhanger. We don't know what's going to happen, do we? Times are tough. If you remove Napoleon from this painting, that's a beautiful painting. Napoleon kind of ruins it. No offense to the French who are watching this video. We're just going to get into the video now. What's he going to do? Let's find out.
On the 31st of July, after 2 months of blood, sweat and sacrifice, General Serrurier is ordered to abandon the siege of Mantua. He is to send 2 of his brigades to reinforce Massena and Augereau, and withdraw with the rest of his troops to guard the army's line of retreat. 179 guns, plus ammunition and supplies which cannot be moved, are to be buried or tipped into the marshes. Napoleon needs every man he can get, because in the midst of the crisis, he has spotted an opportunity. Kostanovich's advance has caught him off guard, but Lake Garda separates him from the rest of the Austrian army. Napoleon will concentrate his forces against Kostanovich, beat him in battle, then pivot again to take on Wurmser. The French divisions are soon on the move. Kostanovich's troops reach Lonato, but here they encounter Massena's vanguard. The Austrians come under heavy attack, and with French reinforcements arriving, they have to pull back. The next day, the French retake Brescia, along with most of their supplies, sick and wounded. Then Napoleon catches a lucky break. Wurmser has been on Massena's heels, harrying his rear guard as far as Peschiera. But now he receives reports there are French forces massing between him and Mantua. Mantua is his priority, so he swings south, away from Kostanovich, towards a city Napoleon has already abandoned. By the time Wurmser realizes his error, it's too late. He has gifted Napoleon 24 crucial hours. A blunder, for which he will pay dearly.
Nothing is lost while courage remains, I think it said. You got to say this, a lot of times, a lot of these military generals, luck plays a vital part. You know, you might not want to admit that, but it does.
The 3rd of August sees confused fighting west of Lake Garda. One French brigade slips through the wooded ravines unnoticed, straight into Salò, causing havoc behind the Austrian lines. But the Austrians repel 3 attacks on Gavardo, and all seems to be going well, until their own advance meets Massena's division at Lonato. Massena's counterattack is led by the 32nd Demi Brigade, which is becoming known as one of the Army of Italy's most feared units. "Bayonets only," Napoleon calls out, "and you, 32nd, maintain your glorious reputation." The lead Austrian brigade is routed. Colonel Junot, though wounded 6 times, accepts their commander's surrender. Kostanovich's force has been mauled. Fearing for the rest of his command, and with no word from Wurmser, he decides he must march back around Lake Garda to rejoin the army. The same day, 15 miles to the south, General Augereau's division fights an aggressive rearguard action near Castiglione, keeping Wurmser at bay, while Napoleon deals with Kostanovic. Augereau begins with a bold attack on General Liptay's vanguard, driving it back to high ground near Solferino. But here, Liptay receives steady reinforcements as the rest of the Austrian army begins to arrive. Augereau keeps up the pressure, preventing an Austrian advance. And though there's a late scare when enemy cavalry sweep around his left flank, they are unsupported and soon pull back. For Augereau and his men, it is a long day of one which Napoleon...
Sorry. Why didn't they just keep charging around? Swing from behind, attack someone, cause some kind of disruption to, attack the guys from behind. Do something. You had a window. Why stop? I don't get that.
Never forget. 12 years later, as emperor, he will make Augereau Duke of Castiglione, and always remind his critics, he saved us that day. Nevertheless, by nightfall, Augereau's division is at breaking point. Our soldiers are exhausted from fatigue and hunger. If you don't send me reinforcements, I won't be able to hold out. Next morning, French troops renew the attack on Kostanovic and quickly discover he's beating a hasty retreat. A major disaster is narrowly avoided when 3 lost Austrian battalions stumble into Napoleon's headquarters at Lonato. They call on the general to surrender. Napoleon responds by loudly ordering his grenadiers and artillery into position, then demands that the Austrians surrender to him or be put to the sword. It's a bold bluff. Few of his troops are anywhere near. But the Austrians meekly lay down their arms.
Wow.
As Napoleon swings his army round to take on Wurmser, the Austrian must decide whether to stand his ground or fall back to a stronger line behind the Mincio River. He chooses to stay put. By engaging Napoleon, he hopes to buy time for Kostanovic to regroup and resume his advance, and for Mantua to be resupplied.
He doesn't know. He thinks he's still down here, and he's going to push through. He doesn't realize he's coming all the way around, so he's holding this position. If he falls back, that gives him more time to come around and then reinforce. Man, it's just, we're so lucky with the age we're in and being able to communicate and, wow.
His reasoning is sound, but his intelligence is out of date.
Yep.
And he's underestimated the speed at which Napoleon's forces will move. At dawn on the 5th of August, the Austrian army is 4 miles east of Castiglione, formed up in 2 lines. Its northern flank anchored on the village of Solferino, its southern flank on a well-fortified redoubt at Monte Medolano. Napoleon faces him with Massena's division in the north, Augereau's division in the centre, and Kilmain's cavalry in the south. He's also formed an elite unit of grenadiers and cavalry to be held back for the decisive moment. Napoleon doesn't seem to have much of an advantage.
Ooh.
But he has 10,000...
He had 19 guns and Austria had 60.
1,000 more troops converging rapidly on the battlefield. 5,000 under General Despinois, marching from Brescia. 5,000 more under General Fiorella, coming from the south. To buy time for these reinforcements to arrive, and to lure Wurmser out of position, Napoleon orders Massena and Augereau to attack. There is a short exchange of fire. Then the French begin a feigned retreat. The Austrians take the bait, some units advancing off the high ground, while Wurmser extends his right wing, looking to outflank Massena's division. Around 9 AM, the sound of gunfire from the south alerts both sides to Fiorella's arrival, behind the Austrian left flank. Napoleon immediately orders Augereau and Massena to attack again, in earnest. Despinois' troops arrive to join the assault. But Napoleon has sprung his trap too early. Wurmser is not yet fully committed, and reacts swiftly. He organises a new line to fend off Fiorella, and hurriedly recalls his right wing. But he cannot save the redoubt at Monte Medolano. Napoleon's aide-de-camp, Major Marmont, leads forward a battery to blast the position. His guns open a devastating cannonade, clearing the way for an attack. Around 10 AM, the reserve grenadiers charge forward with bayonets fixed, sweeping the Austrians off the hill. Meanwhile, to the north, the 4th and 5th demi-brigades surge onto the Solferino heights and seize the redoubt before Pozzacatana. Carried forward by their momentum, they storm the Solferino tower and village beyond, the shaken enemy falling back in disarray. The Austrians are hard-pressed along the line, and now French cavalry and Fiorella's troops threaten to cut off their retreat. While Napoleon is active, energized, urging troops forward, Wurmser seems to go into shock. A French émigré serving with him recalled, "He watched without seeing anything, saying anything, hearing anything. This brave old man, his head covered with white hair, did not think anymore." Finally, Wurmser orders a general retreat.
Remember earlier when I said, I'm not faulting his age? To me, this is a prime example of a new way, and granted, it's the way they fought, but it is Napoleon is bringing new tactics to the battlefield in how he's attacking and coming around, and he's hitting fast. He studies a lot of this, and I this is where I'm saying that Wurmser, is stuck in his ways, and you need someone who's capable. I'm not saying you need a 20-something-year-old to match wits with Napoleon, but you need someone who's younger, who also has studied things and can say that would work 30 years ago. Doesn't work today because they can do this, they can do that. And this is where I think that the age and his style of fighting hurts. If you're an American, fuss and feathers. The hell? Wincock? Sorry, let me look up General Fuss and Feathers. That wasn't his name.
Here is information from Wikipedia.
Give me the name. Winfield Scott. Okay. Winfield Scott was ahead of his time for the U.S. military in the War of 1812. Mexican-American War, still pretty good. not the War of 1812. Was he around for the War of 1812? Of course he was. Mexican-American War. But then the Civil War, he was using Mexican war tactics. Granted, it was 12 years difference, 12 to 14 years difference, but that's a giant leap in the change of battle. I apologize for the long-winded answer here, but that was my fear, was that he was just going to be too old, which would make him too set in his ways of fighting. Apologies.
Back across the Mincho River, covered by their cavalry and some late Austrian reinforcements. The French pursuit quickly peters out. After a week of forced marches in stifling heat, with little to eat or drink, Napoleon's men are close to collapse. But their general is content with what they have achieved.
Now, I'm not saying that general is bad in any way. He might have been a really good, military leader. I'm just saying that his time had probably passed.
Wurmser's army finds temporary refuge behind the Mincho River. But Napoleon immediately resumes the attack. Massena is sent north to relieve the French garrison at Peschiera and threaten Wurmser's line of retreat. The Austrian general has had enough. After ensuring the garrison of Mantua is fully resupplied and reinforced, he begins his withdrawal to the Tyrol to regroup and rethink. The French nip at his heels all the way. Napoleon has just endured his toughest challenge yet as an army commander. And though initially wrong-footed by his adversary, he's displayed brilliant flexibility and his usual energy to weather the crisis and then triumph. But Mantua remains the key to Italy, and while it stands unconquered, the Austrians will do everything in their power to save it. Wurmser will be back, and when he returns, he'll find himself on a collision course with Napoleon, as he launches his own attack on Austria itself.
It just annoys me that it goes to that. Okay. This is good. This was good. So, you know what that means. The video's over. It's time to announce the winner of the $100 billion contest. And I forgot to announce it, so there is no winner because no one signed up for it. So, next time, I guess. So you'll have to like and subscribe. And until the next video, you're going to have a good day, have a good night.